"You can't be a bridesmaid," my cousin said. "You'll ruin the pictures." Her words cut through the Seattle cafe, sharp as the cold Puget Sound breeze. I could have cried or crashed out, but I forced a smile, honed from years of her subtle jabs. "I understand," I said, voice steady, hiding the rage kindling inside. Mia relaxed, prattling about floral arrangements, blind to the hurt she'd caused. But as I sipped my now bitter coffee, I knew this wasn't over. It was the start of a revenge so elegant it would make her regret every cruel word. If you've ever been shamed for your body, told you don't fit, or dreamed of turning pain into triumph, hit that like button, subscribe for more gripping revenge stories, and comment your own comeback tale below. This one's going to hook you and keep you glued till the end. My name is Ava Reynolds, and at 32, I've learned to love the body the world often tells me to hide. I live in Seattle's vibrant Capitol Hill, in a cozy one-bedroom apartment filled with Frida Kahlo prints and my design studio, where bolts of colorful fabric and sketchbooks clutter my coffee table. As a fashion blogger and designer for Curvy Couture, I create custom clothing for plus-sized women, celebrating curves with bold, luxurious pieces. With 55,000 Instagram followers, I hear daily from women, "Your designs made me feel beautiful for the first time." I'm 5'7", with full hips, a soft waist I've embraced, and dark wavy hair in loose curls. My hazel eyes, flecked with gold, light up with my passion for body positivity. But that passion grew from pain, much inflicted by my cousin Mia Thompson, 28, the family's golden child. Slender from yoga and smoothies, with straight blonde hair and blue eyes, Mia's an event planner for Seattle's elite weddings. She's competitive, always the center of attention. Our mothers, my mom Ellen, a quiet school teacher, and her mom Aunt Lydia, a former pageant queen, shaped our dynamic. Growing up, we shared summers at our grandparents' lake house. Pine and campfire smoke in the air. Mia shone in tiny bikinis, charming boys, while I sat on the dock in a one-piece, hiding behind books. "Ava, you should join us. You could use the exercise," she'd say, her laugh light but words cutting, lodging like splinters. As kids, Mia's comments were often dismissed as teasing, but they shaped me. At 10 years old, during a family barbecue, she pointed at my plate of burgers and chips and whispered, "Are you sure you want seconds? You don't want to get bigger." Aunt Lydia chuckled, saying, "Mia's just looking out for you, dear," while my mom shot me a sympathetic look but said nothing. I learned early to laugh it off, to not make waves, but each remark chipped away at my self-esteem, making me feel like I was always one size too large for the family photo. By high school, Mia was the prom queen, dating the quarterback, while I was the artsy girl backstage, designing costumes for the theater club because I felt too self-conscious to step into the spotlight. Even in adulthood, the dynamic persisted. At 25, when I launched Curvy Couture, Mia posted a congratulatory comment on my Instagram, "So brave to design for real bodies." The backhanded praise stung, but I replied with a heart emoji, keeping the peace. Mia's life was a curated feed of perfection, yoga retreats, designer bags, and now her engagement to Ethan Harper. Ethan is 30, a successful real estate agent specializing in luxury properties in Seattle's upscale neighborhoods like Queen Anne and Madison Park. He's tall and athletic, with sandy brown hair that's always perfectly styled, green eyes that crinkle at the corners when he smiles, and a charisma that makes clients sign on the dotted line. Ethan and Mia met at one of her planned events, a corporate mixer with live jazz and canapes, and their romance was the stuff of fairy tales. Dates at waterfront restaurants, weekend getaways to Whidbey Island, and a proposal on a private yacht cruise under a sky lit with fireworks. Mia's ring, a massive emerald-cut diamond, was the envy of our family group chat. When she invited me to coffee at Bean and Bloom to discuss wedding details, I was genuinely excited. Despite our history, I wanted to be part of her joy. I dressed thoughtfully that day. in a custom teal wrap dress from my line that accentuated my curves without apology, paired with gold hoop earrings and a touch of red lipstick to boost my confidence. The cafe's bell jingled as I entered, and I spotted Mia at a window table, scrolling her phone, her blonde hair catching the light like a halo. We hugged hello. Her embrace was brief and perfunctory, as if she didn't want to wrinkle her crisp white blouse, and ordered our drinks. As we sat, the conversation started innocently enough. Her venue choice, Willow Creek Vineyard, a picturesque estate, an hour outside Seattle with rolling hills and rustic charm. The color scheme of soft pinks and golds for a romantic whimsy theme, the guest list of 150, including distant relatives and her work colleagues. I sipped my black coffee, the bitter brew mirroring the twist in my stomach as she steered toward the bridal party. "So, the bridesmaids?" she began, her tone shifting to businesslike. "I've selected my lineup, my best friends from college, Ethan's sister Olivia, and a couple from the office. We're going for a cohesive look, you know? Slim, flowing dresses in lavender to match the florals, all for those perfect photos." She paused, her eyes scanning me from head to toe, lingering on my hips and waist with that familiar judgmental glint. "You can't be a bridesmaid, Ava. You'll ruin the pictures." The cafe spun briefly, the clink of spoons and murmurs fading to a buzz. "Ruin the pictures," echoed, each word a dagger, summing up years of Mia's subtle jabs. Heat rose to my cheeks, embarrassment, fury, but I held it in. The barista glanced over, then focused on steaming milk, avoiding our tension. My coffee mug felt heavy, steam rising like my anger. Flashbacks stung. At 20, when I shared a crush, she laughed. "He's into fit girls, Ava. Maybe hit the gym." I'd always forgiven her for family's sake, but this crossed a line. I could have confronted her or stormed out. Instead, I set my mug down, forcing a smile. "I understand completely," I said, voice steady. "It's your special day. You want everything just right." Mia beamed, diving into cake tasting talk, oblivious. But my mind was plotting, the spark now aflame. Leaving the cafe, the rain had picked up, mirroring the storm in my heart. I dashed to my car, the drops soaking my dress, but I barely noticed. Driving home through the slick streets, wipers swishing rhythmically, I let the tears come, hot, angry tears that blurred the traffic lights. How dare she? We'd shared so many secrets, laughter, family bonds, but her cruelty had always been there, lurking under the surface, and this time, it had broken through. By the time I pulled into my apartment garage, the tears had dried, replaced by a steely determination. I wouldn't skip the wedding. I'd attend, and I'd make sure Mia and everyone else saw me in a new light. I'd design a gown that would eclipse her entire event, one that celebrated every inch of me, and cost more than her budget-conscious affair. This wasn't petty revenge, it was reclamation, a statement that I was done shrinking for her comfort. That evening, I poured a generous glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, the deep red liquid swirling in the glass like the ideas in my head, and settled at my design table. The apartment was quiet, save for the distant honk of city traffic and the soft patter of rain on the windows. I flipped open my sketchbook, the pages filled with previous designs, empowering dresses for clients who'd faced their own body-shaming battles. I started sketching, my pencil flying across the paper. The gown would be a masterpiece. A deep emerald green to complement my skin tone, off-the-shoulder sleeves to highlight my collarbones, a fitted bodice that embraced my curves without apology, and a flowing A-line skirt that moved with grace. I'd incorporate intricate beadwork, hand-sewn pearls, and crystals that caught the light like diamonds, and a subtle train for drama. It would be custom, using the finest materials I could source, even if it meant dipping into my savings or selling some stock from my small investment portfolio. Money wasn't the point. Empowerment was. To bring the vision to life, I called my seamstress Maria the next morning. Maria, 55, is a master craftswoman from Mexico who runs a small studio in Fremont, her space a colorful chaos of thread spools, fabric bolts, and mannequins draped in half-finished garments. "Ava, mi amiga, what's this fire in your voice?" she asked when I explained the concept over the phone, her accent warm and encouraging. We met that afternoon, and as I described the gown, her eyes lit up. "This will be your armor," she said, pinning a muslin mock-up to my frame. We sourced the silk from an Italian supplier I knew through my blog collaborations, lush and shimmering, the color of forest depths, and ordered Swarovski crystals that sparkled like stars. Each fitting became a ritual. Me standing on a stool, mirrors reflecting a woman transforming, Maria's pins adjusting, her stories of her own body struggles making me feel less alone. The gown's final cost? $9,200. More than Mia's entire wedding budget. I'd learned from my brother Jake, who overheard her complaining to Aunt Lydia about cutting corners on decorations to afford a modest honeymoon in Hawaii. Jake, my 35-year-old brother and a software engineer living in Portland with his wife and 2 young kids, was my biggest ally in this. "Mia's always been a mean girl wrapped in sugar," he said during a video call, his face filling my laptop screen, his home office cluttered with code printouts and toy cars from his toddlers. "Remember when she forgot to invite you to her Sweet 16 because the venue was small? This is karma time. Send me the bill for part of that gown, consider it my gift." He wired $1,000 the next day, calling it an investment in family justice. Jake had always been my protector, the one who punched a bully in middle school for calling me names. His support bolstered me, turning the plan from revenge into a family reckoning. But the gown was just the centerpiece. I wanted a full metamorphosis. I hired a personal trainer, Carla, a body-positive fitness coach who ran group classes in a bright gym overlooking the Sound. "We're not here to change your size, we're here to build your strength," she told me during our first session. As we warmed up with stretches, the salty sea air wafting through open windows. Twice a week, I'd sweat through weights and cardio, feeling muscles awaken under my skin, my breaths coming deeper, my confidence growing with every rep. "You're a warrior," Carla would say, high-fiving me after deadlifts. I also started therapy with Dr. Elena Vasquez, a psychologist specializing in body image issues. Her office was a serene space in downtown Seattle, with soft lighting, potted ferns, and a couch that swallowed you like a hug. Mia's words are a reflection of her insecurities, not your reality. Dr. Vasquez said during our first session, her voice gentle as she handed me tissues. We delved into flashbacks, the lake house summers, family dinners where Aunt Lydia praised Mia's discipline while eyeing my plate. "You've internalized that you're too much," she explained. "This wedding is your chance to rewrite that narrative." Therapy wasn't easy. Tears flowed, old wounds reopened, but it healed me, turning my rage into self-love. As the wedding approached, family tensions simmered. My mom, Ellen, called after Mia casually mentioned the Bridesmaid Snub during a lunch with Aunt Lydia. "Ava, honey, she's just stressed with planning." Mom said over the phone, her voice tentative, the sound of her knitting needles clicking in the background. "Don't take it personally. Weddings are all about aesthetics these days." "Mom, she literally said my body would ruin her photos." I replied, my voice rising as I paced my apartment, the rain streaking the windows like tears. "How is that not personal?" Mom sighed, her go-to response when avoiding conflict. "You're too sensitive, dear. Mia loves you." The call ended with me frustrated, but it fueled my fire. Aunt Lydia sent a text, "Heard about the bridesmaids. Mia wants uniformity. Hope you understand." I didn't reply. Jake, on the other hand, was my hype man. "Ignore them. You're going to blow everyone away." The final fitting was magic. I stood before the triple mirror in Maria's studio. the gown molding to my body like a second skin, the crystals twinkling under the lights. "You look like a queen," Maria whispered, tearing up. I felt powerful, beautiful, unbreakable. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. My apartment was quiet, the city lights casting shadows on the walls. I tried on the gown one last time, twirling in front of my full-length mirror, the skirt swirling like a green wave. Doubts crept in. What if they laughed? What if Mia called security? But I banished them with deep breaths, repeating Doctor Vasquez's mantra, "You are enough." I packed the gown carefully, along with my makeup kit and accessories, a pearl clutch I'd designed, diamond earrings borrowed from Sophie. Sleep came in fits, dreams of lake houses and spotlights mingling. June 15th dawned clear and golden, a rare sunny day in Seattle. I drove to Willow Creek Vineyard, the highway winding through evergreen forests, my heart pounding with anticipation. The estate was breathtaking, rows of vines heavy with grapes, a stone chapel for the ceremony, and a tented pavilion for the reception, strung with fairy lights and overflowing with pink roses. I arrived mid-ceremony, slipping into a back pew to avoid pre-wedding drama. Mia was stunning in her lace gown, a budget find from a local boutique, altered to perfection, her blonde hair in an updo, veil trailing like mist. Ethan looked handsome in his navy tux, his vows earnest and loving. The guests oohed and awed as they kissed, rice thrown in celebration. I clapped politely, my pulse quickening for what was to come. The reception was a whirl of elegance, guests mingling with champagne flutes, a live quartet playing soft jazz, the scent of grilled salmon and fresh bread wafting from the buffet. I changed in my car, slipping into the gown, applying my makeup with steady hands, smoky eyes, bold lips, curls cascading. Taking a deep breath, I entered the pavilion as cocktails flowed. Heads turned immediately. Whispers rippled. "Who is that?" "That dress is incredible!" Mia spotted me first, her champagne glass pausing mid-sip, her smile freezing into a mask. Ethan did a double take, his eyes widening, lingering on the way the gown hugged my curves. "Ava, you look absolutely stunning," he said later at the bar, his voice low, Mia glaring daggers from the dance floor where she posed for photos. I mingled with grace, handing out curvy couture cards to admiring guests. Aunt Lydia approached, her face pinched. "You look different, Ava." "Bold choice." I smiled sweetly. "Thanks, Aunt Lydia. I feel amazing." Jake, who'd driven up for the event, pulled me onto the dance floor for a twirl. "You're stealing the show, sis," he whispered, his grin wide. Mia cornered me by the dessert table later, her voice a hiss over the music. "What are you doing? This is my day. You're trying to upstage me." I met her gaze evenly. "I'm just here to celebrate, Mia. Wearing what makes me feel good." Her eyes narrowed, but she stormed off, her veil whipping behind her. The night peaked during the first dance. As Mia and Ethan swayed, guests watched, but eyes kept drifting to me, standing at the edge, the gown catching the lights like emeralds. Photos from that night shared on social media by relatives captured it all. Mia's strained smile, Ethan's distracted gaze, my radiant confidence front and center. Aftermath unfolded swiftly. Mia's marriage hit rough waters almost immediately. Friends confided that Ethan's lingering looks at me sparked arguments on their honeymoon, escalating into therapy sessions and, eventually, a divorce filing 14 months later. Mia called me in tears one night. "You ruined everything with that dress." I replied calmly, "No, Mia. Your words did that years ago." Curvy couture exploded. My wedding photos went viral, landing features in Elle magazine and Vogue, boosting sales to 6 figures. Family dynamics shifted. Mom apologized over tea, admitting she'd been too passive. Aunt Lydia distanced herself, her favoritism exposed. At 34 now, I'm engaged to Lucas, a photographer who met me at a blog event and loves my curves, my fire, my everything. Me as a freelance coordinator now, her shine dulled. Revenge was the gown, but the true victory? Embracing myself, fully and fiercely, without apology. Karma has a way of circling back, doesn't it? Body shaming cuts deep, but rising above it, turning pain into power, that's the ultimate glow up. What do you think of Ava's epic comeback? Have you ever turned a hurtful comment into your motivation? Share your stories in the comments. Smash that like if this story gave you that satisfying rush of justice, and subscribe for more long-form revenge tales that hit hard and leave you inspired. Click the video box for another saga of sweet, sweet karma.